A warm, hearty welcome here to the Joy Generation's Joy Organization. We organize our lives every single day. Our thoughts, our feelings, our sensations, our movement, our choices, our ideas, our intentions, our dreams, our visions, our actions and interactions, our relationships, how we relate to other people and everything around ourselves. It's a continuous process. And we are the organization itself. An organization is not just a mental structure, a concept, or abstract structure. We are it. So the well-being, the fluidity of that structure, that organization is dependent on our well-being. We are at the core of it. Our ability to do things together, to work together, to play together, to create together, to envision together, and to bring it all together. And for me, it's like nature. Preparing the soil in the right climate, the right conditions, and then planting the seed. And then being very cognizant and aware of that seed's inner intelligence to burst through the soil, to the sun, being nourished and nurtured at the same time by the water and the sun, so that it can flourish and blossom and sprout and bear fruits, complete abundance and bounteousness. And we must just look at nature, but we forget. But I would like to invite you to sit back and relax for a moment and to really enact your sensory and mental imagination. And I want to take you back to the agricultural era. So imagine what it's like to organize your life as a farmer in the agricultural era. Your world very near, here. The land, your close, deep relationship and connectedness to nature and the elements and the seasons, because your harvest is dependent on that. A different world. And imagine that life. And how you organize your thoughts every day, sensing into the environment, this expectation of the harvest. And then suddenly there's a big leap, a huge one, into the industrial era. A completely different world. You can't even conceptualize it. It has no context for you. Imagine you sitting there in the factory, a world of precision, of management and control to make this happen. Doing the same thing over every single day. Precision. But suddenly your world's bigger than that of the farmer. But you were not prepared for it in any way. And the farmer is quite shocked when you come and visit that world because it's completely not part of his context. And you live in that world, but your world's bigger. You have different other people suddenly that you work with. Hence the need for management and control of this whole process. So imagine you being there now. And then prepare yourself for another big jump. But we were not prepared for it at all. In the 20th century, especially the late 20th century, the age of technology and information. And suddenly the whole world's blown over with the coming of the internet. Access to so much information. We can learn whatever we want to. Age of education. Of expanding our perception. But again, we were not prepared for it. Because suddenly, to be able to program a computer, we need to be able to think logically with reason and very analytical. If this, then that. Zeros and ones, that's our world at the time. But we were not prepared for it either. And then something happened in the late 20th century as well. The change movement started emerging, trying to prepare us for even a bigger leap into the 21st century. But again, there was so much resistance, and still is. Because we sort of got comfortable with what was, and we still are stuck in some industrial era-like mindsets and way of behavior, way of being. And we needed different skills and abilities suddenly. And different roles emerged through the process. And then come communication, that we can now connect in this way, this interconnectedness between all of us on a technological level. A different world, but completely beyond opening up. And again, we were not ready for it. We still are not. We don't even know what's going to come forth in the next part of the century. Never mind the next decade, like we see this decade starting, the second decade. We were not prepared for it at all. We couldn't manage it, we couldn't control it, we couldn't predict it or foresee it. We couldn't plan for it. So planning, the moment, is really a dilemma. So what do we do? How do we stay aligned with all these emerging patterns? With all these new paradigms coming up, that we need to think in a different way, because we haven't even opened that parts of our brains yet. Completely different abilities that we need in the world of artificial intelligence and machine learning. So how do we go forward? It's like a river flowing. We know we're going to the ocean, so our vision is there, our intentions are there. But how do we stay aligned with whatever is emerging, navigating these streams, and still stay focused? So we are fluid and focused at the same time, something we didn't need in the last century. It's new to us. Our awareness of what's happening, how we impacted the planet, how we innovated and worked together and created businesses, livelihoods, that was not aligned to nature and the natural processes of nature. And we begin to realize that. And in this decade, we begin to realize our impact on each other. Massive. And in this virtual world, how do we keep things together? Because if I have 20 people on my screen that's working in my organization, or 100 for that matter, how do I connect to each of them? How do I notice what's really going on in their environment? What they're really going through, their total well-being? It's almost impossible, isn't it? How do I create coherence in that scenario between my people? And still, they're all on board in this river towards the ocean. And their well-being is at the core of it. Now, we discovered a very interesting thing in the last 3 decades in the business world. On different continents, different cultures, different industries, regardless of whether it was about strategy, business process reengineering, solution design, systems implementation and technology implementations, change, employee well-being, employee engagement, and team dynamics. So regardless of any of those areas in the organization, the functional and the technological aspects of it, there was one thread that we're running through. One thing that every single human being and organization wanted. And that is to be happy, to feel fulfilled, to experience abundance, to feel seen, heard, and recognized, to be able to share our gifts and talents freely, and to be part of something bigger, and to contribute to something bigger at the core of every single human being, regardless of the environment and situation. Hence, our ability to organize ourselves, that our organizations are also healthy, fulfilled, abundant, joyful, is dependent on our individual well-being, our own wellness, and our ability to navigate, be agile, responsive, and attentive. And that's what all our experiences here at the Joy Organization, interventions and workshops and events are all about. But we would like to invite you to join us for a happy hour. So whether it's a cocktail or a high tea, whatever you choose, it's the ability to play and experiment with new ways to align ourselves, to create resonance in our organizations, to create this natural coherence, which we can see happens in nature, even when big changes happens. to really prepare ourselves, to be ready for whatever emerges, that we can navigate these streams, these new mindsets and paradigms that's emerging, the new abilities that we need to foster, the new types of relationships, how we relate to everything around ourselves, and how we organize ourselves right now to play with that and to strengthen those abilities and to see what's possible. Because at this moment in time, there are no experts or gurus that can tell us what to do. It's through an experience ourselves that we strengthen these inner abilities, which is quite natural to ourselves, to organize ourselves in new environments, to foster those and to play with them and experiment with them. And we are all on the same page there. None of us can claim that we actually know how to move forward, but we can work with our awareness and expand it and strengthen it, and also begin to be sensitive to our environments and know how we can still stay focused and in flow at the same time. So welcome, and we look forward to play with you in this way and to share these experiences with you. It's really meaningful and helpful, not only for you, but also for us. So we are in this together. We're walking side by side. There are no leaders in this. Self-leadership is what's moving us forward right now. And self-leadership starts with self-awareness, awareness of other, our relation to each other and what's happening in the world. But more important, that we can harness these opportunities that's now emerging through this process and be sure-footed and agile at the same time. So welcome, and we look forward to share some experiences with you in this way, that we can all together create a world of wellness, of abundance, fulfillment, and joy for everyone, not only for a certain few people. That also the balance in our life is suddenly being exposed, that we didn't live in balance with nature, or our own lives are not in balance. And now suddenly we need to navigate this new way of finding balance in this new world. So welcome. We look forward to seeing you.